Today on Stock Charts in Focus, it is all about groups. We're taking your market analysis to the next level with some of our latest enhancements that just rolled out across the Stock Charts platform. That's our MarketCarpets and the new Index Members Summary page. These tools help you see what's happening across key groups out there in the markets. We're talking S&P 500, 400, and 600 stocks, NASDAQ 100 stocks, Dow Industrials, and more. These tools are going to let you see what's happening in those groups, sort by different metrics that matter to you. You can compare, contrast, find the stocks that really are working out there in those key groups. So, you know what it is. It's all new. It's all here. It's Stock Charts in Focus. All right, my friends, welcome to the show, Stock Charts in Focus. Of course, our product focus show here on the channel where we dig into the site, dive into those tools, walk through those features, and ultimately help you get more value out of stock charts. That is our mission here every Friday on the Stock Charts TV channel. So good to be back with you. If you're new to the show, my name is Grayson, Director of Operations here at StockCharts.com. Great to be back with you again after some very, very exciting couple of weeks here at Stock Charts. If you haven't heard, we just launched a major site-wide product release, new tools, new features, new enhancements, really across every corner of the Stock Charts platform. We'll take a quick look at that just to kick off the show. Make sure that you are aware of everything that's happened. Make sure you know how to go review those tools. But today, we're going to dive into two of my favorites from this release. That's going to be our new MarketCarpet tool, new and improved, dramatically enhanced. Very, very cool what we've done with that sort of market scanning visual analysis tool. And then also the Index Members Summary page allows you to take key groups, again, like the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, Dow Industrials, and more, and see a whole bunch of metrics for all of the stocks that fit into those groups. If you've ever said, hey, I want to see what are the biggest stocks in the S&P 500, this is the tool that makes it very, very easy. If you've ever said, hey, I wonder what the highest RSI values are in the Dow Industrials, this tool also makes it easy. You're going to see that in action. So very cool. These tools really are designed to help take your market analysis to the next level and let you really drill into those key groups that everyone's out there talking about. You know, we're always talking about stocks in the S&P 500 and the Dow and the NASDAQ 100. These tools help you see it all and really get ahead of the action. So let's jump over to the site. We'll take a quick look at that What's New page. Make sure you know how to see that, and then we'll dive into the show talking about MarketCarpets and our Index Members tool. Here we go. My favorite place to kick off an episode, we're starting with our Charts and Tools page. Top left of any page around the site, give that Charts and Tools link a click. That will take you here to our directory of all the tools and features that are on Stock Charts. Now you're going to see a whole bunch of these new labels. We've got our new Sharp Charts workbench. We've got our new MarketCarpets, our new Index Members tool. So these are the things that we're going to be highlighting on the show over the next couple of weeks. Today, what we're going to be doing is looking at that MarketCarpets tool, and then down here under summary pages, we're going to be looking at that Index Members page. So we'll jump back over to those in just a minute, but as I scroll down this page, what I want to make sure you're aware of are What's New page down at the very bottom. You can also get here by clicking right there on that link or by going to stockcharts.com/new. Two different ways to get there. But when you come here, you've got a card right up at the top, our winter product release that just rolled out. You can see those little preview images, get a quick summary of what has been added to the site, what is new, what has just dropped. But down here at the bottom, give that blue button a click, explore those new features. This lets you scroll through our release notes. So you can see a little preview of our new Sharp Charts workbench. You can read up a little bit more on that MarketCarpet tool and this Index Members tool that we are going to be taking a look at today. You can read up on all of these other tools, though, that have just dropped. Enhanced scan results, very nice things that have just dropped for scans. Charts right on those results pages. Scanning for relative strength, one that we're going to highlight very soon on the show. I'm bringing this into my process. Very excited to have that on the site. Scanning and alerting for earnings dates as well. We've got options quotes built right into ACP down there right below your charts in that advanced charting platform. You've now got options data, full chains table right on that platform. Also some helpful trade calculators now built into ACP, going to help with your position sizing and your stop setting. very cool things there. And then for anyone using the dashboard, we've got a couple of new panels that have actually rolled out on the dashboard as well. A market factors panel shows you mid, small, and large cap stocks factored by a couple of different ways, core, value versus growth. Also a Dave Keller market trend model panel, and then the Chaikin power gauge as well. And then, of course, we've got some more things that have also dropped down here. You can read about those. So this What's New page, these release notes, very, very helpful. Make sure that you check that out if you haven't already. Again, stockcharts.com/new, or down at the bottom of that charts and tools page, look for that What's New link. So again, my two favorites. Well, maybe not my two favorites, because I think that Sharp Charts workbench really has to take the cake. But fighting for number two, the MarketCarpets and the Index Members page. These tools are designed to help you see groups. They're designed to help you see sort of from the top down of the market. You know, we talk a lot about indexes like the S&P 500 and the Dow. These are intended to help you drill into some of those key groups. So first up, we're going to look at our MarketCarpets tool. Again, on this charts and tools page, look for that card middle of the screen, and you can open up this menu to access any of these predefined groups. So we're going to focus today on some of these key equity index groups like the S&P 500 and the Dow and the NASDAQ 100. But you've also got a whole bunch of other common groups and sectors in here as well. The MarketCarpet actually lets you see tons of symbols visually on one screen at the same time. So you've got other common groups in there. You've also got sectors in here. You can drill into any of the sectors in the market, see what those are doing, and a couple of interesting mutual fund groups down at the bottom as well. So up here at the top, let's start with the S&P 500. That's going to be our focus for today. What the MarketCarpet really is a heat map tool. It lets you take any groups out there in the markets, any collection of symbols, and see those visually on one screen all at the same time. Now, each block on this by default is going to be sized according to its market cap. So you can see that the big stocks out there in the market, things like Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Meta, those are going to have a lot more weight because those are the big, large cap stocks out there in the market. So those ones are going to be bigger blocks. Now, down here in the little corner, we can see some of those smaller blocks like Lincoln Financial, a much smaller stock, so it's not going to get as much of a sizing here on that market cap, on that market map. So all of these are going to be sized according to market cap by default. You've got a couple of different options up here at the top, though, which we're going to run through in just a second. At a high level, though, what this is intended to do is, again, let you see a large collection of stocks all in one place at the same time, all using kind of the same criteria. So again, by default, this is going to show you percentage changes over the last one day. How are things moving? You can see where the strength is. You can see where the weakness is. If you've got a big chunk of red like we have today with communication services, you can see that a lot of those stocks are getting hit. You can see, though, a big chunk of green like in consumer staples. That means that that's an area in the market that's actually quite strong. Healthcare, a little bit of the same today. So again, this lets you scan visually those groups of symbols very, very quickly. So we'll run through some of the options that you have. I want to make sure that you are fully aware of everything you can do with this page. First and foremost, though, I'm going to hit a little button that you might have actually ignored, but I think it's one of my favorites on this tool. That's going to be the full screen icon. So up here in the top right side of the page, give that a click. What that's going to do is kind of maximize the MarketCarpet to take over as much of the screen real estate as you have to work with. Very, very nice to bring this thing into kind of full screen mode. So it makes it a lot bigger. Once you've done that, you can also choose between having this table on the right side of the screen on or off. So by default, this is going to be turned on. If you do want to have a little bit more room just for that MarketCarpet, though, you can turn that table off. You can sort of hide that. What that table is going to show you, though, is a summary of all of those different values. So as you're seeing, some of these small little blocks, those are actually too small to display any data, too small to display any values. Of course, you can hover over them and get those values. But with that table over on the right side, you can actually get all of the values from the MarketCarpet for, in this case, all 500 stocks in the S&P 500. So you can choose if you want that to be displayed or not. And you also get to actually sort this if you want to sort of flip the weighting, or sort by symbol if you want it alphabetical. You got a couple of different options there. So choose whether or not you want that table on or off. Personally, I like to have it there. I think it's just kind of nice to be able to scroll through those values, but that is just me. Let's start now on the left side. We'll select our group from that first menu. Now we're going to stay on the S&P 500, but the whole point is that you have all of these other groups to work with. So if you wanted to visually scan something like the S&P 100 stocks, you wanted a little bit of a smaller group. Maybe you want to look at mid or small caps with the S&P 400 or the 600. You want to focus on kind of that tech-heavy NASDAQ 100 or any of those classic Dow groups. Again, you've got other groups to choose from in here as well. This is going to match with that menu that we looked at before. So sectors, other common groups, even those mutual funds down there at the bottom. For the sake of today's show, though, we're going to really kind of stay on the S&P 500 just because it's such a classic view to look for. Next up, you get to choose your measurement. So again, by default, this is going to be sorting in percentage terms. It's going to be showing you the price performance move, percent change over the last 1 day. Now, you could change that time period. If you want to see the percentage moves over the last 5 days, let's say, this is basically going to show you 1 week's worth of trading. You can change that. You can, under that color by menu, you can change how many days you're looking back at. You got a couple of different options there. If you wanted 1 year change, you can see a lot of green on that since the market has been so strong, but you got a couple of different options in this menu. Again, by default, though, this is going to be on the 1 day change, so you're basically getting the price performance data for the latest day. Now, you can measure this by a couple of different things, though. Again, we said that the default is going to be that price performance, but you can also measure this by the number of up days versus the number of down days, or specific technical factors. So if you want to see where the scooter strength is out there in the market, you can actually measure by scooter. You could measure by RSI, bring some momentum view into your analysis. You could measure by PPO, that's the percentage version of the MACD. So we can basically take all those MACD values, put them in percentage terms, and actually compare those across all 500 stocks here in the S&P 500. You've got a couple of different technical options to choose from in here. So if you want to compare and contrast different metrics, not just price percentage change, but things, again, like scooter, you can actually do that. Once you've selected another measurement, again, you've got a couple of different options in here. You can actually sort by latest value. Once you choose some of those things that are not price performance metrics, you can sort by the latest value. So in this case, this is going to show you our stock charts technical rank, all the latest values across all the sectors of the S&P 500 with all 500 stocks. So you can see down here in utilities, a lot of red in utilities. That means that is a sector of the market with a lot of low score scooters, not a lot of technical strength coming out of utilities. We can see something like financials, a lot of green in the financials area, a lot more technical strength coming out of financials. S&P 500, a little bit split, Apple definitely dragging things down there, but overall, a lot of green, especially with something like NVIDIA. So this scooter measurement allows you to see where the technical strength is across one of these groups right now. Very nice to be able to do that. Again, you can also select different change periods. So if you want to see where the scooter strength has sort of been coming from, where it's been coming or going from, you could select 5-day change or maybe 3-month change. This will show you those scooter change values over the last 3 months. So some really, really interesting options that you have in here with this new MarketCarpet. We're going to go back to performance. We're going to go back to our 1-day change because that's kind of the classic view that we like to look at. But next, we've got a size by menu. So we can choose how we want these to actually be sized. Now, again, by default, we're going to size things according to market cap. We're going to weight this basically by market cap. We could, however, take all 500 stocks and put a block on the screen for each one of them. Again, still organized into their sectors. But in this case, we could equal weight all 500 stocks on the MarketCarpet. A couple of different visual sort of tricks that you can use here. So you can choose whether you want these to be sized according to the big stuff and the small stuff is really not that visible. Or if you want to see a block for every single stock, you can choose that equal weight option. Now, because we also have the Dow as a group, we do have a little nod to the Dow, which is a price-weighted index, as you might know. So we also have the ability to actually weight these by price. So that's going to take some of the big things like AutoZone, a very, very high-priced stock, going to give that a lot more weighting on the map. Now, when you flip over to some things, for instance, like the Dow Industrials, that price weighting is going to make a lot more sense. Here you've got all 30 stocks in the Dow, and you can actually see those sized by price, kind of the way that they are weighted in that index. So some interesting things that you can do here by playing around with these menus. Finally, we'll hit this back to market cap. Finally, we've got a couple of different color schemes you can choose from. So the default obviously is going to be red to green. If you want a dark version of that, you can choose that red to green dark. You can see that that's going to kind of put this thing into dark mode. But there are a couple of other ones in here as well, in addition to some colorblind options. You've got things like red to blue. Vanilla is one that I actually really like. I think this is quite an attractive little color scheme, easy on the eyes, that kind of thing. You got a couple of different color schemes in there. Most of us are probably going to leave this on red to green, but if you do want to really start to customize your MarketCarpets, if any of those color schemes feel good to you, you can use those. Now, finally, we're going to take a look at our check boxes here. So all of these are checked by default, but let's quickly walk through what these mean. Auto refresh, pretty intuitive. That's going to mean that the data on the MarketCarpet is going to auto refresh every minute. So you'll get up-to-date data when we have it without having to refresh the page every time you want the latest data. That should actually be flipping through depending on your service level. So if you're a pro member, you'll get a faster auto refresh. If you're a basic or an extra member, you'll still get that auto refresh just on a slightly slower interval. But I like to keep that on, especially during the market hours when the session's open. I like to keep my MarketCarpet updating. Next, we've got show symbols. Now, if you want this to just be the colors, you want to really kind of analyze the sectors of the S&P 500, for instance, and you don't care as much about the symbols, you can turn this off. Again, by default, it's going to turn it on. I personally like to have this on. I like to get those values and those symbols when I can, but you do have that option to turn off the symbols on the screen. Next, you can turn on or off the info box on the hover. So you'll see that when I hover over any of these stocks, I get kind of two things. I get an info box right up at the top that shows me the company name, the symbol, and the value of that box. And then right below that, I get a chart. So you can actually choose to have both of these on or just one at a time. The option is yours. If you turn both of those off, you'll see that when you hover over the MarketCarpet, nothing happens. Your cursor isn't doing quite as much. If we turn on just the info box, we'll just get the company name and that value. This is helpful, especially for some of those small boxes when you can't actually see the values on the screen. If you do turn on the mini chart, you'll again get both of those things. But if you turn on just the mini chart, you'll have just that little floating chart. So you get to kind of customize again what feels good to you. Personally, I like to have both of them on. I think that more data is helpful, but at times it is nice to just have that chart. I do like that clean look. So you got a couple of different options to play with there. Now, final thing I want to mention about the MarketCarpet tool. Down here, there's a little note that you might have seen already. Double click on a box to open the symbol summary for that ticker. So you actually have some interactive options in here with the MarketCarpet. First and foremost, you can click on any of these boxes to open up the symbol summary for that symbol. So let's say you're curious to see this really dark green box here, Biorad Labs, BIO. If you double click on that box, you'll see that that's going to open up our symbol summary view for BIO in another tab. You can start to research that symbol. Just reported earnings yesterday, popping really nicely. You get that little mini chart and a couple of different panels here. You can see earnings data, things like that. And then you can quickly jump over to, for instance, a sharp chart for that symbol or an ACP chart for that symbol. Now, the other thing that you can do is actually click on any of these sectors. You'll see that when I hover over any of these sector titles, that lights up in green. So if I wanted to dive into, let's say, financials, I can actually click on that financials title. Now I'm looking at just those financial stocks in the S&P 500 all on the screen. The focus is now just on financials within the S&P 500. So it makes it easier to kind of navigate through some of these larger groups, especially when you have something like 500 symbols on the screen. If you want to go back, just look for that arrow up at the top. You can give that a click and you'll go back up one level to the entire S&P 500. Now, especially with something like utilities, where you don't really, just as a smaller sector, you don't really get to see much of that group. This is very helpful. Something like technology, bigger weighting in the S&P 500, you get to see a lot more of those on the screen at one time. but drilling into something like utilities gives you a little bit more room to work with that group. So really, really nice couple of features there. Remember, you can double click on any of those boxes, and remember, you can navigate into any of the sectors of the market carpet simply by clicking on that title. So again, the whole point of our Market Carpet tool is to be able to visually scan some of these different groups. You get to choose them, whether you want the S&P 500, 400, 600, NASDAQ 100, any of those Dow groups. You've got a ton of different options to work with. But what this allows you to do is pull up the entire S&P 500 on one screen and say, how is the market doing today? Where is the strength? Where is the weakness? What's working? What's lagging? It lets you see all of that really, really quickly in a very visual format, all in one place on the screen. So a very visual tool, a great way to think about the markets, and a great way to sort of drill into some of these key indexes. You can do the exact same thing with small cap stocks. Where's the strength? Where's the weakness? You can do the same thing with that tech heavy NASDAQ. Where's the strength? Where's the weakness? Different things like that. So the Market Carpets, a very, very important new tool that has just rolled out on Stock Charts. We've introduced another way to scan some of these key groups though, and that is with our index members page. We're going to go back, charts and tools. We're going to give that another click, and we are going to scroll down to our other group analysis tool, that index members summary page. So we're going to hit view now, and that's going to take you right over to, again, the S&P 500. That's going to be the default here on our index members summary page. One quick note, we've also added this navigation bar right up at the top, so you can actually navigate through any of these summary pages. Market, sector, industry summary, also the scooter reports, the earnings calendar, another key to keep an eye on, especially these days, and even that crypto summary page. You can navigate through all of those with those handy little tabs. This index members summary page, though, quickly becoming one of my favorite tools on the site. I've been spending a ton of time in this thing and really, really getting a lot out of it. So the market carpets are kind of, again, that visual analysis tool that's going to take something like the S&P 500 and give you a summary of it in a very visual way. Let your eyeballs kind of do the work, right? Here on the index member summary page, we can do the same thing, summarize the S&P 500, but we're really drilling into the data. We're putting it in more of a table format to drill into the data. This allows us to see all 500 stocks, for instance, and then sort by specific factors that matter to us. So starting up here at the top, again, we're going to focus on the S&P 500, but you do have a whole bunch of other indexes available in this menu. So if you wanted to summarize the S&P 100 stocks, those mega cap names, or mids and smalls with the S&P 400 or 600, you got the NASDAQ 100, those Dow indexes as well. And then finally, you have the different sectors of the market. So if you want to see all of the financial stocks or all of the consumer discretionary stocks, you can also navigate into any of those sectors. For something like the S&P 500, though, this is a great tool to know, a great way to review the S&P 500. So by default, this is going to sort alphabetically by name. You can see that right here, the name column is sorted. This lets you sort by any of these factors, though. You can actually see all of those factors here and turn any of these columns on or off. These are all of the different things that you can add to this table. By default, again, these are all going to be on. And so all you have to do is scroll horizontally to see any of these different factors. Now, for any of these, you can hit the top to sort. So if you wanted, for instance, to sort by market cap, let's say you wanted to find the biggest stocks in the S&P 500, you can see that 2 quick clicks, we're now sorting from the top down by market cap in the S&P 500. So for instance, there's been a lot of talk lately about NVIDIA climbing the ranks, the sort of market cap ranks of the S&P 500. Now, today, as of today, the third largest stock in the S&P 500, NVIDIA. Huge move out of that stock recently, and it's very, very easy to see that here on this index members summary page. If you wanted to sort by something like scooter, again, find the strongest stocks out there in the S&P 500. Well, here's a new addition, Uber, absolutely flying higher, has sort of claimed the top rank of the S&P 500 there, even besting NVIDIA, which is pretty wild to think about. But you can sort the entire S&P 500 in 2 clicks by scooter from top down. You can also sort by volume, percent change. You could sort by which stocks in the S&P 500 are most extended or most under their 20-day EMA or their 50-day or their 200-day. Let's say you wanted to use the 50-day. You can actually sort by which stocks are the furthest above or below their key moving averages like the 50 or 200-day. We mentioned RSI earlier, so similar to kind of what you were doing with the MarketCarpet there, measuring by RSI. In this case, we can sort the entire S&P 500, see which ones have the highest RSI values, which ones have the lowest. Or, depending on your strategy, depending on how you want to use this, you could find the stocks that have, let's say, a 65 RSI score. So you could sort by RSI, then scroll down and find those stocks that have those RSI values to kind of line up with what you are looking for. So really, any of these things are possible with this page. You can sort by dividends, trailing 12 months, or forward 12 months. You can sort by next and last earnings. That's one that I have been using on this page a ton, especially in the last few weeks. You can also sort by EPS or PE values. Lots and lots of different things that you can do with this page. Once again, you can also customize the columns here. So for instance, if you want to turn off those moving average values, maybe ATR and ADX aren't things that are in your technical toolkit, so you want to turn those off. And maybe dividends don't matter to you that much, so you want to turn those off as well. We can see that this table is going to start to customize to fit exactly what you want to see. So now it's a little easier to see just those earnings dates. We can say what's coming up next in the S&P 500, which stocks are reporting earnings soon. You can see those earnings reports right there. So lots and lots of different ways to use this, but a great way to see the S&P 500 on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, you name it. Now, a couple other things you can do with this page. We're going to sort here by percent change, and then we're going to actually come up here and change our period to 3 month. This menu right here, that period menu, is going to apply to this percent change column. So that's going to change what you see in the change and percent change columns here. So if you wanted to say, what are the top stocks in the S&P 500 over the last 3 months? Well, select your period right there, sort by percent change, and you are off to the races. You've got a list of all the stocks in that key index sorted by percent change over the last 3 months. Really couldn't be easier. So lots and lots that you can do with this page. I'm finding this to be, again, a great resource to use on a daily basis to kind of see what's happening across some of these key indexes, and then to be able to sort by factors that matter to me, like market cap or scooter. That's a very, very important one. Great way to find some of the strongest stocks out there in the S&P 500. Coming over to this index members page and sorting by scooter, things like that. So lots of great stuff that you can do with this page. Now, once you've kind of used this page a little bit and you're actually kind of getting into the meat of it, right? And you're sorting by a couple of factors, and you say, "Oh, that's an interesting stock. I want to actually start to drill into that specific name." There are a couple things that you need to know on this page. Let's actually sort this by scooter, and we'll jump down to a value that I really like, which is 80. Any scooter right around 80. If you can find a stock that's kind of breaking out right around a scooter of 80, I find that those are ones that are often set up well to continue advancing higher. So let's say you found your stock that's got a scooter score right around 80, and you want to start drilling into it. Let's say Citigroup. Couple of things that you can do with this page. First off, hover over the symbol. Hover over any of these symbols to get a quick little mini chart. So here's Trimble, here's Citigroup, here's BBWI. You got a couple of different names to play with there. Let's say Citigroup looks pretty good to you. It's kind of made that breakout and is continuing to trend higher. So you can hover over that symbol and get a quick little mini chart of that name. Very helpful for reviewing any of the symbols in here. You can also click on the name to open up a chart of that symbol. So if you want that full featured chart, just click on the name. It'll open right up in the new Sharp Charts workbench. Couple other things that you can do though. Open up this menu on the left side of the screen. This will give you quick access to any of the other tools that we have around the site. So that symbol summary that we looked at earlier on the MarketCarpet, you can jump right to that for Citigroup from that menu right there. You could jump to a Sharp chart, an ACP chart, a gallery view chart if you want to bring in sort of multi-time frame analysis. See how this thing looks on the intraday, the daily, and the weekly view, as well as point and figure. You could jump to just a point and figure chart, a seasonality chart. You could even pull up options for any of these stocks in the S&P 500. So a couple of different options there for jumping specifically to one of those names, for charting any of those names. On the right side of this table, you've also got another couple of actions. So you can hit that plus icon to actually add any of these to a chart list in your own account. If you want to save Citi to your watch list, for instance, you could pop this open, select your watch list, and save that right to your own account. You can even customize the name and select a chart style that you want to use to save that symbol. You can also create alerts for any of the symbols on this list. If you want to create an alert for Citigroup, you can create price alerts directly from this page. Hit that little bell icon on the far right side. You can choose whether you want this crossing above or crossing below a specific price. And you can even open this up to select specific percentage moves. So if you want to know when Citigroup is another 5% higher, you could say, alert me when Citigroup crosses above a 5% jump. That's going to put that value right in there for you. It's going to calculate it. You could even add a message to this alert and then choose your notification type as well. So really nice and handy couple of features there, again, for researching any of these names. I'm finding, for instance, that when I'm coming to this page and sorting by scooter and I want to sort of start to review some of these different names, being able to see those charts with those little mini charts, being able to actually quickly get a sense of what those stocks have been doing. Very, very helpful. Being able to jump straight to something like the symbol summary to kind of take my research to the next level, another very helpful feature. And of course, if I want to chart something like, let's say AMD here, being able to quickly jump over to a full featured chart of that symbol, another nice feature of that index members page. So a very, very helpful new resource that has just been introduced on stock charts. Again, great for summarizing things like the S&P 500, but you've got tons of other groups in here as well. We can take a look, for instance, at small caps with something like the S&P 600. We could take a look at all the same things, sorting, do anything that you want with this page. The exact same things that we just walked through with the S&P 500 you can do here. If you want to look at something like the 30 stocks in the Dow Industrials, very quick, great way to summarize those names and review those on a daily basis. Some of the biggest, most important stocks out there in the market. This gives you a great way to review those. So any of those different groups that you have right in there, you can access those now with our index members summary page. So that's going to do it for us on this show today. I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Stock Charts in Focus, drilling into some of these new tools, new features that have just rolled out across the Stock Charts platform. We've got a whole host of things that have been launched, so make sure you review that What's New page. Again, stockcharts.com/new is how you can get there. You can navigate there from the charts and tools page. Don't forget that. Take a look at those release notes. Make sure that you're aware of everything that's been added to the Stock Charts platform. The MarketCarpets, though, and our new index members summary page, really designed to help you see the stocks in those key groups out there in the markets. MarketCarpets have a couple of other purposes as well, being able to summarize key indexes and sector funds, different things like that. But I find that especially for the S&P 500, different groups like that MarketCarpet, visually scanning some of those key groups, and then drilling into some of the data behind them with that index member summary page. These two features are definitely things that should find a home in your toolkit. Make sure that you're bringing these into your process. They're great ways to see exactly what's happening beneath the surface of the markets, drill into some of those key indexes. So hopefully you've had some fun sifting through these new tools with me, seeing them in action, seeing what they can do. Remember, we do this every Friday, drilling into tools, new features, talking about different ways to get more value out of stock charts. That's our mission every Friday with this show. So if you had fun with me today, join me next week. We'll continue to review some of these new tools and features that have just rolled out, show you some tips, some tricks, some tutorials, show you some of the ways to get more value out of all of the features packed into the Stock Charts platform in every different corner. So again, my name is Grayson Rose, Director of Operations here at StockCharts.com. It's been great to be with you. I'll see you soon for another episode of Stock Charts in Focus. But until then, chart on, my friends.